Hello, Philippa. How are you?
Well, I'm doing peachy. Thank you very much, Theresa. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm really good. And it's great to be back here on our We've Got a Message podcast with our series three, episode three. So, throughout this series, we've been talking about what makes a great leader. And today we're going to be looking at your values and where that falls into sort of identifying your values and using that within your leadership style and approach and who you are really. And it falls fabulously because I went along to something that I've never been to before at the weekend, which were the TEDx talks in Manchester. It
Wow.
was amazing. I didn't know what to expect. You and I both love a TEDx talk.
Yep.
Um, and I know we often recommend them to our clients. And it was a day filled with listening to 11 inspirational speakers about all sorts of things. And unbeknown to me, one of the speakers, a guy called Chris Bailey, I've got his book. It was the book that I bought, Chris Bailey here. And this book is called Intentional, How to Finish What You Start. Ooh. But his whole 20 minutes was about values, and it was
Wow.
about living, working within your values, how they provide that moral compass that you need, and how they can explain why we pursue things, or why we might stop and why our motivation might run out. So, as a leader, this is going to be a great conversation, and I can't wait to sort of get your views on it. I very much believe in living it within your values and use it a lot in my coaching approach with my clients. So let's explore, let's go dig around together and
Can't
let's see where
wait.
we get to. So, first question to you today is what really matters as a leader when we're looking at this whole area of values?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's all about the authenticity. So, authentic leaders, I think, are the best leaders. It's your style. It means it comes from the heart. It means you can be consistent, and that really gets grounded in the values that you have. So, um, maybe just sort of my definition around values as well is it's what's inside you. It's what is, the things that you hold on to when everything else goes. So it's your natural instincts, behaviors, motivations. Um, but it comes out in outwardly is represented by your behaviors. So the way that you live your values is through your behaviours all the time. And to me, the consistency means that portraying that consistently, first of all, it creates some trust with your team members, with your peers. They can read you. They know about your identity and what you stand for, and how you'll work with conviction. And then when you disagree with things as well, and they know that that's with conviction too. But it means then that you're creating sort of a trusted, credible environment for those that you work with, which means that they're able to read you better, and respond better. And then that plays it forward for them as well. That I think it's role modeling for others, that they can consistently be themselves, work out where there are differences in values and how you navigate around that, which there are ways to make sure that you can still bring together and keep as aligned as possible, different values and respect that. But it's being really sort of self-aware, being able to be clear on what your priorities are and why, understanding where there's misalignments and being able to dig a little bit deeper into why that might be, in order to then work out how can you bring those things back together. Um, and if I just speak for me personally, so we've done the values exercises, haven't we, ourselves, but also with clients. Then in my top five of values, then it's around optimism. Might be in yours as well. There's a bit about work ethic, responsibility. So things that jar with me is people who don't do what they say they're going to do, because there's a responsibility in me that says if that's what I do, then I sort of have an expectation. I can set expectations of others. um, but also about trying to look on the optimism of the go forward, and there's a way through this. Then it's also understanding not everyone is exactly the same, but that's what I'm going to lead with. Is I'm going to be there, gunning for. There's a way through that we can work together to do. So that's the way that I see values are really important from a leadership point of view. But I'm interested from your side of maybe when you've had experience with the values-led leadership, what's made you really proud, but also maybe what's made you uncomfortable. What is it from your side?
Oh, yeah, that's a really good question. And I thought that was great how you talked about where values fall into you as a person and then to help you with your leadership. It becomes your compass, really. It's a compass for life for yourself individually, but also your leadership style. We've talked about that previously. And I think what's really important is when you are living and working within your values because it feels right. You in your gut, we talk about our gut feel. In our gut, we know it's right. So if you are asked by your organization to achieve something, to aspire to something, whatever that might be, you know if that feels right, and it's therefore really great and easy to lead your team because everything about you will ooze positivity. You're all in, you've got it, you want to achieve it too because it's within your own personal values. So that is that wonderful, comfortable feeling of, come on, let's go for this. You're motivated, you've got intentionality behind it, you want to do it. Where it there becomes a bit of a rub is obviously if either the company's values or the task they're asking you to achieve doesn't align with your values. And that can be
Yeah,
really difficult
yeah.
because you might get asked to do something that completely isn't doesn't feel right to you. And that's where then you've really got to think about your vocabulary, about how you explore, be curious, and challenge what the request is, but also how you're going to motivate yourself and your team to achieve whatever that might be. And that takes some real skill. And I think there's that bit about most people
Come
want to
on then,
be.
that skill. Come on, Teresa. What's the skill? I think you've got all the experience.
I think the problem is if you're not breathing authenticity, then people can see straight through you. So
Yeah,
it's better to be open and honest. So go and do the curiosity, the challenge, the asking all the questions as to why the business needs to achieve whatever it is that you need to achieve. And be clear that if it doesn't fit within what feels right to you, you can state that and say, look, I'm not really aligned with this. It's not how I would approach it, but if this is what I'm being told to do, then we will go ahead and do it. You then need to talk to the team and say, right, guys, we've got this to do. It's part of what is in the bigger business plan. For us as a team, it might not feel right, but we have a responsibility to do it. I've explained to whoever where my view is on this, but you know what? I've got you back. Let's just crack on and get this done, and then we can move on. And that whole piece of acceptance of what needs to get done, but also putting the challenge in and making people aware of where you sit, but then don't become the saboteur because there's things that go on in business, depending on how big the business is, that you never really know sometimes the full story. So you've got to, we're being paid to do a job at the end of the day, but you can make people aware that you're not totally aligned with it, but you'll get the job done. And I think if you
yeah,
can do that, then that really will help you sort of lose any guilt, but also it'll break through that rub because there's nothing worse. We all know, don't we, when we've got to achieve something that we just don't want to do because it doesn't feel
yeah.
right.
It's a really good one, and I like the thought as well of the if you've got a gut instinct of saying this, there's something that feels uncomfortable about this, then being able to constructively challenge or talk through your thinking with whoever's giving guidance about something that needs to be done that you don't really like, then you're following that before you then get your team to work,
Yeah.
which it helps your own understanding, which you might find there's some information you don't know, and you know that helps you and get more comfortable with it. Or it may be, yeah, I'm still not comfortable with it, but at least I've felt authentic in myself that I've challenged
Yes.
it effectively. And like you said, we move on. We get things done anyway. We take it constructively, and then say, right, we'll get the work done.
Absolutely. And from looking at it from your team point of view, if they feel that you've got their backs, they will perform, they will
Yeah,
want to work, they want to be part of your team. I mean, I remember working for an amazing leader in my sales career, and he was really very firm, but exceptionally fair. And we all knew that, crikey, anybody that's out there that works in sales, there's targets, there's things you've got to deliver. And sometimes you're like, are you serious? How are we meant to do that? That's ridiculous. We're always a bit of a complainer when it comes to sales targets, unless there's a big bonus at the end of it. And but we knew he had our back. So no matter
yeah,
what was going on, whilst we personally didn't necessarily know the full story, but we trusted and believed in him that he was guiding us in the right direction and he would fight our corner no matter what. So
yeah.
as a leader, it's about how you lead with pure intentionality to get the job done, but being authentic to yourself and to your team. And I think that's where you see the difference between a manager and a leader.
Yeah, no, definitely get it. And it is about then how you're leaving that feeling with your team as well. So the way that you lead is the way that you end up with them, the way that they're left is how they felt after the task rather than the doing of the activity that was something that maybe they didn't agree with or they knew you didn't agree with.
Do you know, absolutely. And that leads really well into the question that I had in my head there was about, I think it's important that how you are perceived when you're not in the room. So,
Yeah.
when as a leader, how do people talk about you? Like I was just talking about an old sales director of
Mm.
mine, how do you remember that person as a leader and what are they saying about you? I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I'd always be petrified about what they're saying when I'm not in the room. But I do think that it's about again grounding in the identity. When we talk about values and behaviours, it's easy when everything, like you said, everything's flowing and it's all
Mm,
no stress, no pressure.
mm,
I think the tell is when the way that you behave and the way that you then continue with your values under pressure. So where
yeah.
it's high levels of stress, how do you still hold yourself grounded in those values, but behave with team, with your own leadership as well, um, and again holding consistency. So to me, it's still about the yes, we can have these
Mm,
ups and downs where you go, yeah, I can tell that Philippa doesn't quite agree with this, or I can tell Philippa's really enthusiastic about it. But it's about there being a small ebb and flow rather
mm,
than spikes and dips, which again I think can make people feel that they don't know which one's going to turn up that day.
yeah.
Yeah. So how do I behave? So I think behaving with intent. You've mentioned as well from your new book,
Yes. Yeah.
behaving with intent, but also making sure that that intent is also the way that it's received as well, because sometimes there can be misalignment on what,
Mm,
I'm thinking is my intent, but the way that it's being received might be something different. And that's
mm,
about reading the audience, which is difficult when you're not in the room, but reading your audience generally as a leader and then being able to respond to that to then go, oh no, I think I need, something might not have been interpreted as I was intending it to be,
yeah.
but trying to make sure that anything's being received with intent and also, boundaries. So,
Mm,
knowing what your own boundaries are, which I think the values piece helps. So again, getting your boundaries set, but being able to set that as expectations proactively, I think can really help. So the things that I would hope people would say in the room would be about, yeah, knows her own identity, is able to give clear expectations that are achievable, and then operates consistently within those boundaries,
mm.
and make sure that that's clear and received with intent by the team members as well.
Yeah, and I think that's really a valued thing. And as you were talking about your own values, it made me think about, we talk a lot, don't we, on this podcast about 360
Yeah,
feedback. You could, you could, I guess, add your values on and add an extra box and say, these are my values. Where do you see those show up? Do you believe that this is how I
yeah,
lead? Or you could actually ask people, and that would give you a really clear indication of whether or not you are really leading with intention, and true to your values, and sharing them with other people,
yeah,
sharing them within the team will actually hold you a bit more to account, and it will take away some of the guesswork, because people will know, as you said then, oh, we know this is Philippa, this is how she operates. So if she's not operating like that, there's something off. If they're aware of them and you're aware of your team's values, that could be a really powerful piece of team
yeah.
leading.
It definitely is. And I think it could also highlight potential misalignments
Yeah.
early. So understanding yourself, sharing that with your team, and your team also, understanding their values, and then realizing as you operate, the way the behaviors come out isn't because someone's being disruptive. It's just that they've got some different values from you have from those that
Mm-hmm.
you may have, and it's about then working out how do you work together so that you're not going to be rubbing up against each other in terms of the values that are different. It's more about the, okay, I understand why you're behaving in that way because it's a different set of
Mm,
values. Everyone's going to be slightly different with what they have on, top priorities of values for them. So
yeah.
so yeah, I think it's really helpful, because it means you can proactively share values and what those boundaries are and your expectations, which can open a conversation before the problems start.
Yeah, and also I am seeing more and more now. There might be some people listening to this thinking, oh, they're a bit woo-woo on today's episode. You know, what they're doing talking about values and leadership, that's just a bit too woo-woo for me. Um, but more and more job interviews, more and more this psychometric testing, it's bringing all of this in. I'm having more and more conversations where this idea of values within the workplace is becoming more and more important. I was actually I'm doing some work voluntarily on a mentor scheme. And in sort of like the induction interviews that they were doing, they were asking about what are your personal values so they could match you with a similar mentee. So a
Yeah,
mentor and a mentee. So we could be matched so that we could get the best out of the process. And I was like, wow, that's tremendous because that really will help the process. There's no point in working with somebody that's so far outside of what my personal values are because I won't be able to help them.
yeah,
We'll just rub against each other the whole time. And in this environment, it's great if you can match in that
yeah,
respect.
yeah,
So I love this conversation and I could talk about it all day because it's really important to me. I can't wait to read my book that I've bought.
yeah.
So I think in terms of wrapping it all up, Philippa, what would you say is our key message for today?
So, values-led leadership is important.
Yes.
It firms up your identity. It means you can be an authentic leader. It also means that you can operate within the consistency boundaries. It means that you can be self-aware, but also start to be aware of others and where their values may be. And when you've got all of that working, then there's a nice quote from Maya Angelou, which is around the fact that people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they never forget the way that you made them feel.
Yeah.
Which I think then goes back to you're understanding people and the way that you're received by others, is really important. So that's why I'd say our message is today.
Oh, I love that. And Philippa, you always make me feel amazing. So thank you for our chat today. And I wonder what it would have been like if we'd worked together in our corporate world. Wouldn't that be a wonderful place to be?
We'd have been aligned on values, I think.
I think we most definitely would. Absolutely. And we would
Yeah.
have had a lot of fun.
We definitely would have had fun.
Thank you for today. Let's look forward to our next episode, which will be episode 4. I can't believe it. And let's go and live and breathe our values out there in life in general. Take care, Philippa.
Great. Take care. Bye.